Anyone who's ever transmigrated into a ricefield eel knows this. Ricefield eels taste super delicious and are packed with nutrients, but they're really weak in combat. Right at the very bottom of the food chain, one slip up and you're sent straight back to reincarnation. So everyone who transmigrates into a ricefield eel lives extremely cautiously, scared of getting caught and stewed into soup. But I'm different. I'm not just not afraid of being stewed, I even devoured all the stock the seafood shop owner has, and refined the vicious spirits of many aquatic creatures to help me become an immortal. Because I awakened the Devour Evolution System, I can raise my power just by eating constantly. Right now, I'm inside the fish tank of the seafood shop, watching an auntie point at me and say, "Boss, give me that ricefield eel. I'll take it home to make soup." This one right here, it looks really lively and strong. "Sister Wang, you have really good taste. This eel was just delivered this morning. It's super fresh. Wait a second. I'll pack it up for you." After saying that, the seafood shop owner stuffed me into a bag and put it on the weighing scale. No way! Am I gonna die right after transmigrating into an eel? I struggled like crazy, but it was totally useless. Luckily, that auntie wasn't in a hurry to take it. She told the boss to handle it first and said she'd come back later to pick it up before leaving. And that seafood shop owner is a total scammer. When he saw the auntie leave, he just tossed me right back into the tank, grabbed a dead eel, gutted it, and sliced it up. I let out a huge sigh of relief. But before I could figure out what to do next, a translucent panel suddenly popped up in front of me. Ding! Devour Evolution System activated successfully. Host: Gulwin species. Ricefield eel evolution points 0. You can gain evolution points by devouring creatures. I stared at the translucent panel for a second, stunned. Then a wave of wild joy rushed through me. Surviving a close call really does bring good luck. Now that I have this Devour Evolution System, I could even go up against an ancient true cultivator. And I'm in a seafood shop, right? There are resources to get stronger everywhere. Soon, night fell. The seafood stall owner closed up and went home. I looked at the other eels in the tank with me and grinned. "Hey, fellow Taoists, please do me a favor. Help me ascend to immortality." Then I activated the devour power of the system and ate all the eels in the tank. The system panel popped up again. "Congratulations to host for obtaining 10 evolution points. You have met the requirements for level 2 evolution. Would you like to start evolving now?" Wow, I already hit the level 2 requirement. That was fast. Evolve. Of course I have to evolve. How could I let my fellow Taoist sacrifice go to waste? I clicked confirm. A flash of golden light passed by. I felt a burning sensation burst out from deep inside my body. It was super intense. Everywhere it passed, my veins and bones crackled loudly. 10 minutes later, the burning sensation inside my body faded away. I looked down at my own body. My length went from the original 50 centimeters all the way to over 1 meter long. And I got a lot thicker, too. I even grew tiny scales. They don't look very tough yet, but my defense is way higher than before. Looking at the changes to my body, I was practically glowing with joy. This Devour Evolution System is so awesome. In just over 10 minutes, my power increased several times over. If I keep devouring stuff, I can't even imagine what kind of monster I'll evolve into. With that thought, I looked at the fellow Taoists in other tanks. This seafood shop is around 100 square meters in size. It's not super big, but it has a huge variety of goods. They have all kinds of seafood: carp, crucian carp, toads, crabs. There are even 2 super expensive king crab fellow Taoists on the top shelf. When I saw the 2 of them, I grinned. Who would have thought I never got to eat king crab when I was a regular working stiff? And now that I've transmigrated into an eel, I get to eat it instead. Then I didn't hesitate any longer. I put all my strength into it and shot right out of the tank, rushing straight for the king crab tank. Ha ha ha! Here I come, king crab fellow Taoists! Don't be scared, it'll only take a second. It won't hurt much. I wrapped myself around the king crab first and squeezed it to death. Then I started devouring its big claws, just like that. I kept eating in the seafood shop until 3 a.m. All the seafood products and fellow Taoists in the shop all ended up in my stomach, training and getting stronger with me. Just like that, my evolution level reached level 3. Huge changes have taken place. My body length reached 2 meters. Tough, solid scales grew all over my body. My strength got a massive boost. After resting for a short while, I knew I couldn't stay here for long. If the boss finds me here, best case I get captured and sold. Worst case I get sent to a lab and dissected. I looked around. My eyes landed on the stinky sewer entrance. I frowned unconsciously. All right, when heaven wants to give someone a big mission, it first has to test their willpower. Make their body suffer. Make them go through hunger. A little difficulty can never beat me. Plus, I can't waste the hard work of all my fellow cultivators. So I took a deep breath and went through the sewer entrance. It was so dirty and dark in here. The stench was unbearable. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. All kinds of sewage carried me downstream. I had no idea how long I drifted for. The pipe started getting wider. I whipped my tail hard and swam towards the front. After swimming for a while, I found I had entered an even bigger sewer. The space here was much roomier. The water was a bit deeper too. I just breathed a sigh of relief when I suddenly sensed movement around me. In the pitch-black water, several pairs of glowing green eyes were staring right at me. I saw a few extra-large fish swimming right at me with their mouths wide open. These fish were pitch-black all over. They had long whiskers around their mouths and sticky slime all over their bodies. They looked absolutely disgusting. They were Egyptian catfish. I frowned again. There are even demonic cultivators here. Get out of my way right now. Or don't blame this poor Taoist for being ruthless. But those catfish obviously saw me as food. The biggest one stupidly charged right at me, opening its huge jaws to swallow me whole, but I had zero intention of eating it. It was way too disgusting. After I smacked them all away with my tail, even though eating them would give me evolution points, they were just way too gross. So I turned and swam away. Using my speed advantage, I quickly left them far behind. I had no idea how long I swam for. A glimmer of light suddenly appeared up ahead. The light got brighter and brighter. With a splash, I burst out of a huge drainage pipe and fell into a river. The river water wasn't super clean either, but it was paradise compared to the sewer. I gulped down the fresh water greedily. Then I swam to a reservoir. This reservoir was huge. The water was really deep too. The water surface was glistening. It was surrounded by mountains on all sides. I looked around the place and nodded in satisfaction. This is it. This reservoir is far away from people. The scenery is beautiful, and the water is clean. I'll make this place my starting point. In the days that followed, I started my cultivation journey. My daily task was super simple. Eat, eat, eat. All I did every day was eat, devouring all kinds of small fish and shrimp. But I soon realized the evolution points these tiny things give are ridiculously low. After eating over a dozen small fish, I only got a little over 10 evolution points. That was fine when I was level 1, but now I'm level 3. I need a full 1,000 evolution points to level up. If I only eat these small fish and shrimp, God knows how long that'll take. Just when I was getting frustrated, I suddenly saw objects falling onto the water surface, continuously without stopping. I took a closer look. They were small black pellets, and lots of golden corn kernels. They gave off a strong, nice scent, attracting several small grass carp nearby to swarm over. I let out a cold chuckle. Those anglers are here. This is chum bait for attracting fish. It's used to trick fish into biting the hook. I'm not one of those stupid fish. There's no way I'd eat this stuff. But just when I was about to turn and leave, a rush of water came towards me and pushed a few corn kernels right to my mouth. I ended up swallowing them. The next second, a system notification pinged. Ding! Host consumed 1 corn kernel. Evolution points gained, 0.5. Evolution points gained, 0.5. I was stunned immediately. What the hell? A few corn kernels gave me 1.5 evolution points. I ate small fish and shrimp for a whole month, and only got 20 evolution points total. Wait, could it be that eating these fish baits can also boost my evolution points? My eyes lit up the second this thought crossed my mind. Kid, you can't handle this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Drop it right now. Hand it over to me. I flicked my tail and dashed over right after saying that, chasing all the nearby grass carp away, and started gulping down the ground bait. As I kept gulping, my translucent status panel popped up again. Evolution points +1, +1, +1. In just over 10 minutes, my evolution points went up by dozens, way more than what I earned in a whole month. I was over the moon and kept gobbling away. Half an hour later, I ate up every last bit of ground bait here. My evolution points hit 200, but I wasn't frustrated at all. I was even more excited. Tons of people come to fish at this reservoir. The ground bait they dump into the reservoir every day weighs at least 100 pounds, no cap. After finishing all the ground bait here, there's way more waiting for me. This is such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Your humble Taoist is coming. Then I switched to looting mode in the reservoir. Whenever I saw small fish eating ground bait, I'd dash over and chase them off, then start chowing down like crazy. If any punk dared to mess with me, I didn't cut them any slack. I'd absorb them straight away, swallow them down. To boost my cultivation, that's how my evolution points started skyrocketing. In just a few days, my evolution points hit the 900 mark. Just 100 more and I can evolve again. But one day when I was out looking for ground bait, I heard a furious yell from the shore. I, the great Emperor He-Chang, never go home empty-handed. Reservoir, I'm gonna fight you to the end. Tons of ground bait fell into the water. When I saw this, I burst out laughing. Well, damn. This fellow Taoist is so generous. Tons of ground bait dropped into the water like dumplings being boiled. I didn't hesitate for a second and dashed right over, gulping like there's no tomorrow. System notifications kept popping up like crazy. Evolution points +1, +1, +1. I was having the time of my life eating. I ate from afternoon till it got dark. My belly was swollen like a balloon. But my evolution points on the system finally broke through the 1,000 mark. Congratulations, host. You have collected enough evolution points. You have met the requirements for level 4 evolution. Do you wish to start evolution? Evolve. Hell yeah, I'm evolving. Golden light covered my whole body again. The changes this time were way more intense than before. My body length directly exceeded 5 meters. My scales became much harder. I was emitting an overwhelming aura all over. All the fish in the reservoir scattered in all directions. Not daring to get anywhere near me, I flicked my tail contentedly. All my fellow Taoists' efforts didn't go to waste. But the next day, that angler named He-Chang actually came back. I don't buy it. If I still can't catch a fish today, I'll eat my fishing rod. Right after he said that, tons of ground bait smashed into the water. I watched all this from the bottom of the water and was overjoyed. How generous of you, fellow Taoist. I, your humble Taoist, gratefully accept this gift. I turned on crazy devouring mode again. I ate even faster this time, with way higher efficiency. By evening, another system notification popped up. You have met the requirements for level 5 evolution. Do you wish to start evolution? Evolve. I chose to evolve without any hesitation. After this evolution was done, my body length directly reached 10 meters. When I swam around the reservoir, I looked like a small flood dragon. My scales reflected a faint glimmer in the water. I looked at my own body and couldn't help sighing. Fellow Taoist He-Chang, you're literally my lucky charm. But He-Chang obviously had no idea he was feeding me resources. He was still guarding his fishing rod on the shore, from dawn till dusk, not moving an inch. The float didn't move at all. I looked at his stubborn back and actually felt a little bad for him. Fine, I might as well do a good deed to the end. See the favor through. I've eaten so much of your bait. It's time I repay the favor. I swam deep into the reservoir and found a herring that weighed tens of pounds. I flicked my tail to knock it unconscious, then carefully carried it and hooked it onto He-Chang's fishing hook. The next second, the fishing rod bent sharply. He-Chang jumped up immediately. I got it, I got it, I got it. I great emperor. He-Chang finally caught something. Told you. Persistence pays off. No one loses forever. No one loses forever. I shook my head under the water, I snickered. Tsk, fellow cultivator. Your dedication to the Tao is really impressive. Then I turned and swam towards the reservoir outlet. This reservoir is pretty nice, but I'm already 10 meters long now. If I stay any longer, someone will definitely find me sooner or later. It's time to move somewhere else. I need to find bigger opportunities. I followed the river all the way downstream. I arrived at the Jujiang Nature Reserve mountain area. The mountains here stretch on endlessly. The vegetation is thick and lush, and barely any humans come around. It's perfect for a big guy like me to move around in. Plus, there's tons of wild game in the mountains. All kinds of animals are my source of spirit essence. I started devouring everything as I traveled through the mountains. Wild boars, hares, pheasants. I don't turn any of them down. Every time I devour one, my evolution EXP increases steadily. It's not as much as the gains from fellow Taoist He-Chang's stash, but at least there's lots of variety. Also, the evolution points these wild animals provide are way higher than the small fish and shrimp from the reservoir. I kept going deeper into the mountain interior like this, but right after I finished devouring a wild boar, the woods ahead started shaking violently. Loud rumbling footsteps came closer. The whole ground was trembling slightly. I lifted my head. My pupils shrank sharply. I saw that in the dense forest ahead, a huge figure was slowly walking out. It was a giant ape, a full 15 meters tall. Its whole body was covered in golden fur, glinting brightly in the sunlight. The most noticeable thing was on its chest, a hideous knife scar that ran from its left shoulder all the way to its right abdomen. It looked like it had been cut by some sharp weapon. It looked down at me, its eyes full of murderous intent. I froze on the spot. What the hell is this? King Kong? How is there something like this in the reserve? Shocked as I was, my first thought was, if I can devour a guy this big, my evolution points will go through the roof. I didn't hesitate at all. I rushed straight at it. Then I immediately regretted it. That King Kong was absurdly fast. It punched me right in the body. My whole body went flying, crashing through several big trees. Before I could even react, it rushed over again and stepped on my body. The huge pressure was so strong my scales were cracking. I struggled like crazy, and finally managed to shake it off. I turned around and ran. I ran even faster than the time I met that catfish in the sewer. Shit, I can't beat this guy, I'm out of here. I fled in a panic. That King Kong chased me for a while, then seemed to decide I wasn't worth chasing. It stopped in its tracks, beat its chest and let out a roar, like it was claiming its territory. I hid in a cave far away, covered in wounds, gasping for air. I was furious and so unwilling to accept this. You damned golden-furred beast. Wait till I finish my evolution. I will definitely refine you completely. Then to get my revenge, I started devouring everything like crazy on the mountain outskirts. Wild boars, hares, pheasants, snakes, rats. As long as it's alive, it all goes into my stomach. I was like a walking devouring machine, working nonstop day and night. Finally, after devouring who knows how many animals, the system sent another notification. Level 6 evolution requirements have been met. Start evolution now. Evolve. After this evolution was complete, my body length directly exceeded 20 meters. My body was as thick as a giant pillar. My scales were as hard as iron. I felt the surging power inside my body. Hey, King Kong. Huh, this Taoist is back again. I charged back into the deep mountains again. I found that King Kong really quickly. It was sitting on a big boulder munching on something. When it saw me show up, it stood up and beat its chest and roared again. But this time, I didn't back down at all. I rushed forward fiercely, my body moving like a giant python, and coiled directly around its body. It struggled like crazy, its fists constantly pounding on my body. But my scales were unbelievably hard. Its attacks only left faint white marks. I coiled tighter and tighter. Its bones made loud cracking sounds. Finally, with a dull bone-breaking sound, King Kong's body went limp and stopped breathing entirely. I relaxed my body, opened my mouth wide, and started devouring him. The system alerts kept blaring non-stop. Congratulations, host, you've devoured the mutant King Kong. You've obtained 5,000 evolution points. You've obtained a new talent. King Kong's Unbreakable Bones. King Kong's Unbreakable Bones greatly boosts the host's physical defense and bone strength. 5,000 evolution points. And a new talent. I was over the moon with joy. No wonder he's a 15-meter giant. This is such a huge win. Then I started feeling the changes brought by the King Kong's Unbreakable Bones talent. All the bones in my body were being strengthened. The muscles and skeleton under my scales grew much stronger. It felt like I was wearing a layer of natural armor. But amid all the excitement, I also fell into deep thought. How come there's a 15-meter tall King Kong in this reserve? This thing is obviously not a normal creature. It's a mutant. Just like me, I was killed by a fish before I crossed over to this world. Back then, I just thought that fish was weird. Thinking about it now, that fish was probably not an ordinary one either. This world doesn't seem to be as simple as it appears on the surface. Is this because of spiritual energy revival? These 5 words popped into my head out of nowhere. I've read a lot of novels of this type before, like animals mutating, plants awakening. Those are all common tropes of spiritual energy revival stories. Could it be that the world I'm in is going through spiritual energy revival right now? Thinking of this, I immediately asked the system, "System, tell me quick, is this world really going through spiritual energy revival?" The current world is in the early stage of spiritual energy revival. A small number of creatures have awakened ahead of time. You, the host, are one of the awakened ones. I fell silent for a few seconds. Then I took a deep breath. It's really the early stage of spiritual energy revival. In this life, I will definitely evolve to become the apex predator at the very top of the food chain. Even if the Buddha stands in my way, I'll kill him. Even if a god stands in my way, I'll kill him. After figuring all this out, I left King Kong's territory and kept moving towards the outskirts of the mountains. I planned to find new evolution resources. On the way, I passed a small stream. The water was so clear you could see the bottom. I was just about to cross it when a figure suddenly shot out from under the water. It was a ricefield eel. It was about 2 meters long. Its size was several times bigger than a normal ricefield eel. It was obviously a mutant, too. I tensed up instinctively. I thought it was here to pick a fight. But the next second, the eel didn't attack me at all. Instead, it rubbed against me like crazy, just like a dog wagging its tail. It was rubbing against me super affectionately. I was stunned. "Who are you? Stop rubbing. Stop it." Just when I was totally confused, the system suddenly popped up a notification. Familiar bloodline imprint. Prolonged previous contact. I looked down at this 2-meter-long ricefield eel. It kept nudging me with its head. Its eyes were full of affection. A memory suddenly popped up in my mind. Back when I was in college, I once went fishing at a reservoir and caught a really tiny ricefield eel. It was only as long as a chopstick. I didn't have the heart to eat it, so I raised it in a fish tank in my dorm. I even gave it a name. Its name was Xiao Huang. Back then, my crush, senior student Su Wan, somehow found out about this. She came to my dorm every few days to see Xiao Huang. She stayed for a long time every time she came. Sometimes we'd chat and lose track of time. The vibe between us was super ambiguous, but neither of us confessed our feelings. Then 1 week before graduation, I released Xiao Huang back into the reservoir. Later on, Su Wan and I lost touch. I never thought that after the spiritual energy revival, Xiao Huang actually awakened too, and even grew to 2 meters long. Watching it keep rubbing against me, I felt a rush of emotion. "Xiao Huang, it's you. I never thought we'd meet again. This is such fate." Xiao Huang seemed to understand what I said. It rubbed against me even more enthusiastically and wrapped its whole body around me. I smiled helplessly. But even though Xiao Huang is also a mutant, it's only 2 meters long. Its strength is way worse than mine. Bringing it along would be a burden. I thought for a moment and said to it, "Xiao Huang, you stay here for now. Wait until I evolve to be strong enough. I'll come back for you." Xiao Huang looked a bit reluctant, but he still obediently let go of me and went back into the stream. I took one last look at him, turned around, and kept moving forward. When I get strong enough in the future, I'll definitely come back for him. Then I left the mountain area, traveled all the way along the river channel, looking for new evolution resources. I swam for most of the day. A much larger reservoir appeared ahead. It's several times bigger than the previous one. The water surface is wide. No end in sight as far as the eye can see. I was about to dive to the bottom to look for food. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from the shore. Hey, Lao Wang, look. I bought new gear worth over $3,000 this time. Titanium steel reinforced seat. There's no way I can't catch a fish this time. I jerked my head up. I saw a familiar figure sitting on the shore. He-Qiang, my old pal, Emperor He-Qiang. He actually came to this reservoir too. And he obviously spent a fortune this time. His whole set of gear is brand new. A middle-aged man was sitting next to him. That must be the Lao Wang he mentioned. Lao Wang was setting up his fishing rod beside him, a cigarette dangling from his mouth. Looking totally calm, I watched all this from under the water. The corners of my mouth slowly curled up. A mischievous idea popped into my head. Fellow Taoist, He-Qiang. We meet again. Last time I was in a good mood. I gave you a black carp as a gift. You won't be that lucky this time. I quietly swam to the spot where He-Qiang put his bait pile. Sure enough, a lot of bait had been scattered on the bottom. I pulled the same trick again, opened my mouth and started swallowing. Not a single grain left. Everything went into my stomach. The system notification sound rang again. Evolution points +1, +1, +1. Finishing the bait wasn't enough. I came up with an even meaner prank. I swam under He-Qiang's float, flicked it lightly with my tail. The float suddenly sank hard. He-Qiang on the shore immediately perked up, jerked the fishing rod up hard. It's empty, nothing there. Huh? There was definitely a bite just now. Anchio mumbled to himself. Cast the rod again. I waited for his float to settle down, flicked it again with my tail. He-Qiang lifted the rod again. It's empty again. I held back my laughter under the water and kept doing it. Anchio kept lifting the rod. Once, twice. After 10, more than 10 times, He-Qiang's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. What the hell is going on? Every time there's a bite, every time it's empty. Is this fish a demon or something? Ha ha ha, Brother Qiang. I'm afraid that $3,000 gear of yours was a waste of money. Ha ha ha. He-Qiang was so angry, he took off his hat and slammed it on the ground. Don't worry, fellow Taoist, He-Qiang. The fun is just getting started. He-Qiang completely lost it. He stood up abruptly, yelled at the surface of the water. Hey, buddy in the water. I have no grudge against you, man. Can you just leave me alone? Don't come next time, okay? I'm not in the mood to fish anymore. He was like a deflated balloon. Just poured the whole bag of fish feed into the water. It weighed over 20 pounds. All splashed into the water with a clatter. I watched all this from under the water, almost laughed out loud. How generous of you, fellow Taoist. I humbly accept this gift. I opened my mouth wide, started devouring that pile of fish feed like crazy. The system notifications kept ringing nonstop. Evolution points kept shooting up. After eating the whole bag of fish feed, evolution points went up by a huge chunk. But I didn't treat him badly either. This time I hooked a 100-pound big carp on his line. He-Qiang got excited immediately. I got one. Those 2 shouts I made really worked. In the following days, I kept cultivating in the reservoir, but soon I found things were starting to change. The speed of spiritual energy recovery was way faster than I expected. First, the fish in the reservoir started mutating on a large scale. Their sizes skyrocketed. They became ferocious in temperament. Then the animals in the mountains. Abnormal behaviors appeared frequently. There are sighting reports of giant creatures everywhere. Finally, one day, officials around the world issued announcements at the same time. Confirming the existence of spiritual energy recovery, governments of all countries issued a joint statement, urging the public to pay attention to safety. Stay away from wild areas. I looked at the sky reflected on the water surface from underwater. I knew right away. The spiritual energy revival has entered its second phase. Sure enough, not long after the announcement was released, all kinds of strange phenomena started appearing around the world. The sky occasionally glows with strange light. The concentration of spiritual energy in the air is visibly increasing. I can clearly feel the surrounding. White spiritual energy is several times denser than before. I opened my mouth wide and started madly absorbing the spiritual energy floating in the air. The system notification sound rang again. Ding! Host has absorbed a large amount of free spiritual energy. Evolution points increased significantly. You have met the requirements for level 7 evolution. Do you want to start evolution? Host has confirmed evolution. Golden light covered my whole body again. The changes this time were even more intense. My body length directly exceeded 30 meters. My body was as thick as a giant pillar. My scales reflected golden light under the sun. The entire reservoir could barely hold me. I was already a real giant beast. After the evolution was completed, I started thinking about what to do next. The spiritual energy revival has entered its second phase. There will be more and more mutated creatures, and they will get stronger and stronger. I can't stop moving forward, but just absorbing spiritual energy and eating small animals makes my progress too slow. I need to find a place where I can accumulate evolution points faster. After thinking it over and over, I set my sights on the east, the coastal areas. There is a vast ocean there. The types and quantity of marine creatures are far more than what inland has. Sharks, whales, giant octopuses. Any of them gives dozens of times more evolution points than wild boars and pheasants on land. Besides, after the spiritual energy revival, the mutation scale of marine creatures will definitely be larger. That is the perfect place for me to grow. No time to waste, let's go! I left the reservoir right away. Heading towards the East China Sea, I followed the mountain rivers all the way east, trying to avoid crowded human areas. But when I was passing through a mountain area, a burst of screams came from far away. Help, run! Someone please save us. That voice sounded very familiar. I stopped unconsciously and listened carefully. Another terrified shout came. This time I heard it clearly. It was Su Wan's voice. My pupils shrank suddenly, and I dashed towards the direction of the voice. I went through a dense forest and saw the scene in front of me. Su Wan was carrying an injured female colleague on her back, running like crazy. Her clothes were torn in several places by tree branches. Her face was full of panic. And behind her, 5 mutated giant wolves were chasing them. Each of those wolves was over 2 meters long, with their fur standing up and their eyes glowing green. The leading wolf king was even bigger, as long as 3 meters, with saliva dripping from the corners of its mouth. It looked like they were on a company team building camp and got caught in the spiritual energy revival, so the wild beast mutated. I looked at Su Wan's embarrassed back. Some memories popped up in my mind automatically. When we were in college, she came to the dorm to see Xiao Huang. We sat in front of the fish tank and talked until late at night. On graduation day, she stood at the school gate, trying to say something but stopping, and finally only said, "Take care." Neither of us dared to confess our feelings to each other, and we never met again after that. I never expected to meet her here again. Thinking of this, my 30-meter giant body rushed out of the dense forest. I swept my tail towards the giant wolves. The 5 giant wolves were sent flying immediately and broke more than 10 big trees when they crashed. 4 ordinary giant wolves died on the spot. The wolf king struggled to stand up and bared its teeth, roaring at me. I looked at it coldly, opened my mouth and bit the wolf king straight into 2 pieces, then swallowed it into my stomach. It only took 3 seconds from my appearance to the end. The second Su Wan's female colleague saw me. She was so scared that she collapsed directly on the ground. Her face was pale, and she was shaking all over. We're done for. The wolves are gone, but something even bigger came. We're definitely gonna die. She thought she met an even more powerful monster. Su Wan also stopped walking, turned around and looked at my 30-meter-long giant body, with golden scales shining under the sun. Her eyes were full of fear, but soon that fear slowly faded away and was replaced by a kind of indescribable and unnameable feeling. She stared into my eyes and spoke subconsciously. "We have met somewhere before, right?" My heart skipped a beat violently. Did she recognize me? The next second, the system popped up a notification. Display identity information to the target. I fell silent, staring at Su Wan's familiar eyes. They were filled with confusion and fear, and a hint of something I couldn't name. But I didn't respond in the end. I'm a 30-meter giant python now. She's just an ordinary person. What's the point of telling her? It'll just bring unnecessary trouble. I turned around and left slowly, but I'd only taken a few steps when I heard Su Wan's voice behind me. "Wait, who are you really? I know you, don't I?" Finally, I faintly heard a sob. It feels like I just sent off someone really important. My body froze for a second. I silently said in my heart,
Suwan?
"See you if we're fated to." After leaving Suwon, I didn't stay any longer. I followed the mountain river all the way east, and soon joined the Yangtze River. The Yangtze is the longest river in China. It has vast waters, and a huge variety of creatures. Besides, after the spiritual energy revival, aquatic creatures here started mutating on a large scale. For me, this place is a huge all-you-can-eat buffet. I devoured Chinese sturgeons, big catfish along the way, and all kinds of unnamed mutated aquatic creatures. I turned nothing down, swallowed all of them into my stomach. The system's evolution points jumped like crazy. Soon I met the evolution requirements again. After the evolution was completed, my body length directly broke through 80 meters. Swimming in the Yangtze, I was like an ancient giant beast. The waves on the water surface were as high as several meters. But just as I kept moving forward, the water ahead suddenly became unnaturally calm. An ancient and heavy aura came from the depths. I slowed down warily. I saw in the mud at the river bottom a huge dark shadow slowly rising up. It was a giant soft-shelled turtle. It was over 20 meters long. Its shell was covered with moss and barnacles. It looked like it had lived for who knows how many years. It slowly opened its eyes and looked at me with cloudy gaze and spoke. Its voice was old and hoarse. "Kid, I've been occupying this place for 300 years. I'm Old Turtlehead, the overlord of the Yangtze. If you know what's good for you, take a detour." 300 years? I raised my eyebrow. A 300-year-old turtle must give loads of evolution points. I charged right over immediately. Old Turtlehead didn't seem to expect me to attack. Before it could react, I had already wrapped myself around it. Its 300 years of cultivation sounded intimidating, but against my 80-meter body and indestructible bones, its old shell was no stronger than paper. After a few rounds, Old Turtlehead was crushed and swallowed by me. The system notification sounded, "Congratulations, host. You devoured a 300-year mutated giant turtle. Gained a large amount of evolution points. Special bloodline factor detected. Titan-Aboa bloodline fully awakened. Host's body length exceeded 100 meters. Strength greatly improved." 100 meters? I felt the surging power in my body. The Titan-Aboa bloodline had fully awakened inside me. Every one of my scales was restructuring and strengthening. My body emitted an ancient prehistoric aura. I wasn't some eel anymore at this moment. I was a real giant python. But what I didn't know was, I made too much noise in the Yangtze. Satellites had already captured my figure. Soon a news story blew up all over the internet. Prehistoric giant python spotted in the Yangtze. Body length over 100 meters. Suspected to be a revived ancient creature. This is probably caused by the spiritual energy revival, leading to the return of prehistoric species. The whole internet went crazy. All kinds of discussions spread everywhere. Some people were scared. Some were excited. Others said they wanted to form a team to take photos by the Yangtze. I knew nothing about all this, and I didn't care. I only had one goal, the East China Sea. Then I kept moving forward, followed the Yangtze all the way east, at extremely fast speed. Soon I arrived at the Yangtze estuary. The salty sea wind blew towards my face. The vast ocean was right in front of me, but just as I was about to enter the sea, I stopped abruptly. An aura came from the seawater. Extremely familiar. All my scales stood up instantly. My pupils narrowed into slits. I'll never forget this aura, it's him. The thing that dragged me into the water back then. The last moment before I transmigrated, I was dragged under the water by the owner of this aura and drowned alive. I thought after I transmigrated, this grudge would be dropped. I didn't expect it still here. The blood in my body started boiling. A long repressed rage burst out from the bottom of my heart. "Wow, I didn't expect you're still alive. Perfect, we can settle all scores today." I followed that aura to track it down. Closer and closer. Stronger and stronger. Finally, in the deep water of the estuary, I saw it. It was a black flood dragon. Its whole body was as black as ink. Its body length was the same as mine. About 100 meters too. It had 2 short horns on its head. Its 4 limbs were thick and powerful. Black mist wrapped around its whole body, emitting a cold and gloomy aura. I was stunned for a second. Flood dragon. There are actually flood dragons in this world. Not a mutant beast. It's a real flood dragon. I stared at it. It also turned its head to look at me. Those vertical pupils were full of indifference and killing intent. But the next second, I saw it. The black flood dragon froze for a moment. It obviously didn't expect that in this water area. There's actually a creature as big as it, and the aura feels kind of familiar too. Its vertical pupils shrank slightly. It looked me up and down. A moment later, it seemed to remember something. The corner of its mouth slowly curled up, showing a cold and sinister smile. Oh, it's you. The human I dragged into the water back then. I didn't expect you turned into this look too. Why did you drag me into the water back then? But the black flood dragon flicked its tail carelessly, with a contemptuous tone. I awakened before the spiritual energy recovery, but I need to devour human luck to stabilize my foundation. And your luck is extremely strong. I've had my eye on you for a long time. I disguised as a big fish and dragged you into the water that day. After drowning you, I devoured your luck. Thanks to you, I was able to turn into a flood dragon smoothly. It said it all casually, like it was talking about a trivial thing. But my pupils completely turned into a vertical slit. All my scales popped up. Fine, great. Rage burst out from the bottom of my heart. Today, either you die or I do. The fierce battle broke out instantly. The black flood dragon opened its mouth and spurted a thick water column. It hit my body directly. The huge impact knocked me back hundreds of meters. Then it pushed hard with its four limbs, setting off a monstrous tsunami. The whole sea area was shaking. I stabilized my body, wrapped around it, strangled it with all my strength. At the same time, I opened my mouth to bite its neck. But the black flood dragon is a flood dragon after all. Its scales are harder than mine. Its strength is stronger than mine. And it awakened way earlier than me. After several rounds, I already have more than a dozen bone-deep wounds on my body. Blood dyed the surrounding seawater red. Another water column blasted over. I couldn't dodge in time. Got hit head-on. My whole body flew backwards. Hit the reef on the seabed hard. I spat out a big mouthful of blood. My vision started to blur. No way, the strength gap is too big. The black flood dragon swam over slowly. Looked down at me. This is all you got? And you want to take revenge? You're just a python turned from an eel. You think you're worthy to fight me? I lay on the seabed. My whole body was in extreme pain. My consciousness started to fade. The feeling of near death hit me again. Exactly the same as when I drowned in my last life. Some images started flashing through my mind. My parents are waiting for me at home. Suwan stood in the mountain forest and asked if we had met before. Xiaoheng is waiting for me in the stream to pick him up. I haven't reached the top of the world yet. My will erupted at this moment. A sense of unwillingness gushed out from the depths of my soul. Just then, the system notification sound rang. Ding! Host's near-death state detected. Unbreakable will trigger the hidden condition. Ancestral dragon bloodline activation conditions are met. Activate ancestral dragon bloodline. I was instantly shocked. Without a single hesitation, I activated the ancestral dragon bloodline right away. Ancestral dragon bloodline is activating, skipped the flood dragon stage. Evolved directly into a golden giant dragon. Golden light burst out from inside my body, 100 times more intense than any previous evolution. My body is undergoing drastic changes. Scales are restructuring. Limbs are growing. Dragon horns grow on top of my head. Dragon fins appear on my back. The golden light lit up the entire sea area. When the light faded away, I was no longer a python. I was a golden giant dragon, covered in golden scales all over. Dragon horns as sharp as swords. Dragon whiskers fluttering in the wind. My aura covers dozens of miles around. The black flood dragon watched what was happening in front of it. It was completely stunned. Its eyes were full of disbelief and deep-seated jealousy. Impossible! How can you turn into a dragon? I've practiced for hundreds of years and still can't become a dragon. What makes you, a mere eel, qualified? 'Cause I'm the main character. As soon as I finished speaking, I swiped down with my claw. The black flood dragon didn't even have time to react. I pressed its entire body into the seabed. Then I opened my mouth and bit it, tore it into pieces, and swallowed it whole. You dragged me into the water back then. Today I'm sending you to hell. Now we're even. After devouring the black flood dragon, the sky suddenly went dark. Dark clouds gathered from all directions. Blocking out the sun, streaks of purple lightning zipped through the clouds. Deafening rumbles of thunder roared. I looked up at the sky. I immediately knew what was going on. It's the lightning tribulation after becoming a dragon. This is the test from the heavenly Tao. The first lightning bolt struck down, hit my dragon body dead on. I didn't move an inch. Then the second, the third. Each one more powerful than the last. But for me right now, that's nothing at all! After all 9 heavenly lightning bolts struck, not even a single scale on my body broke. I passed the tribulation easily. The lightning tribulation dissipated. Sunlight shone down again. I felt the changes inside my body. I suddenly realized I could shapeshift into human form. I tried to retract my dragon form. The next second, a flash of golden light appeared. I turned into a human, and it was my original human look. The young man named Gu Wen, 24 years old. Then I stood on a reef by the sea, wearing a set of white clothes. I looked down at my hands. The corners of my mouth lifted slightly. I'm finally human again. I need to go home. With that thought, I flew towards the direction of my home. I felt more relaxed than ever before. But right after I flew over the human city, I arrived at the residential community. Before I even got home, I heard cries and shouts coming from far away. I recognized it was my family's voices. I immediately sped up, landed at the alley entrance. What I saw made my blood boil instantly. The neighbor's family of 3 were punching and kicking, my parents and little sister violently. My dad was pushed to the ground. My mom was shielding my little sister. There was a clear slap mark on her face. The middle-aged neighbor woman stood with hands on hips, pointing at my sister. Hand over the spirit fruit. You stole my son's thing and still dare to lie. I didn't steal it. I picked it up in the wild when I went on a spring outing. It's none of your business. The neighbor man kicked my dad hard. Picked it up? A family like yours deserves a spirit fruit. Everyone on this street knows, only my son is an awakened one. He's the only one who could have something like this. You must have stolen it. While they were talking, a man in his 30s walked out from behind, wearing the uniform of the Ability Administration Bureau, looking like a total hooligan. He walked up to my little sister, looked her up and down. The corner of his mouth curled up. Hey, little girl. I'll give you one more chance. Be my girl, and I'll let this whole thing go. Or I'll throw your whole family in jail. My little sister was shaking with anger, tears streaming down her face nonstop. A lot of neighbors had gathered around. Some people couldn't stand it and wanted to help. But when they remembered the son is an awakened one and works for the Ability Administration Bureau, they couldn't afford to mess with him. They could only shake their heads and sigh, dare not make a sound. I watched all this unfold. My knuckles popped as I clenched my fists. How dare someone take advantage of my absence to bully my family? That takes some real nerve. So I pushed through the crowd and strode forward, grabbed the middle-aged man by the collar, and threw him right aside, then kicked the middle-aged woman to the ground. Both of them hit the ground hard, wailing nonstop. When the awakened young man saw this, his face dropped. Who the hell are you? Do you know who I am? You dare hit my parents? You got a death wish or something? He lunged at me as he spoke. A faint glow covered his fist. That's the power of an awakened. I didn't even move an inch, and just blew softly at him. That single breath hit him like a speeding truck. He went flying backward and crashed straight through a wall, coughing up blood. He collapsed on the ground and couldn't get up. The whole place went dead silent. Everyone was stunned. The young man struggled to lift his head, staring at me with eyes full of terror. He finally realized he messed with someone he couldn't afford to provoke. He scrambled over to his parents, pulled them down to their knees. Beat me big, bro, I'm sorry. I was too blind to recognize your greatness. We don't want the spirit fruit anymore. This was all a misunderstanding. Please spare us, I beg you. I couldn't be bothered to look at them. I turned to my parents and little sister. All 3 of them were staring at me blankly. My mom covered her mouth, eyes wide open in shock.
Son.
Mom, I'm back. That can't be. You were dead, right? We even held your funeral already. My dad didn't believe it either. Thought I was a scammer. Seeing this, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I used to climb here when I was little. You caught me stealing money to buy a game console in middle school. The night before the college entrance exam, you slipped me a note that said, all these little memories, one by one, matched exactly. Hearing that, my mom finally broke down, hugged me and sobbed loudly. It's really you, son. Where did you go? I thought I'd never see you again. My dad stood beside us, his lips trembling, eyes red from holding back tears, but he couldn't say a single word. He just patted my shoulder hard. My little sister also rushed over, hugged my arm and cried, Bro, you're finally back. I missed you so much. I stayed home for the next few days, ate and chatted with them, told them everything I could, and brushed off the stuff I couldn't talk about. Then I went to pick up Xiao Huang. When Xiao Huang saw me, he was so excited he almost flipped the whole stream over. His 2-meter-long body coiled around me wildly. I smiled and patted his head. Then I traveled around with Xiao Huang and saw all of the new world after spiritual energy revival. A year later, I was on a street in a city when I saw a familiar figure. It was Suwan. She was walking out of an office building. I walked up to her. Suwan? Guan? You're alive. That giant python was you, right? I looked at her and nodded. It's me. Suwan covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face instantly. I knew it. I felt it was you that day. I stood up, walked to an open area, a flash of golden light, and I turned back into my golden dragon form. Suwan looked up at me, crying her eyes out but smiling at the same time. I lowered my dragon head, let her climb onto my back, then shot up into the sky. Carrying her up above the clouds, wind howled past our ears. The whole world was beneath our feet. We landed on a mountain peak. I turned back into human form. The setting sun dyed the whole sky golden. I looked at her, took a deep breath. Suwan, I've wanted to say this since college, but I never had the guts to say it. I don't want to miss this chance today. Marry me. Suwan froze for a second. Then she cried through a smile. Okay, but there's one condition. I want to have 8 kids. I almost lost my breath right then. 8? Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. 4 little dragons and 4 little snakes. That's exactly enough for a mahjong game. All right, whatever you say. At the same time, by the reservoir at the foot of the mountain, a familiar figure showed up. It was none other than Emperor He Cheng. Old Wang was right next to him. Look, Old Wang, I upgraded to 100k level gear this time. Nanorod, alloy line, custom bait. There's no way I can't catch a fish now. You definitely got this, Brother Chang. Suddenly the float shook violently. He Chang jumped to his feet at once. We got a bite, it's definitely a big one this time. He yanked the rod up hard. He reeled it up and looked. It was a golden fish scale, as big as a palm. It glistened brightly under the sunlight. He Chang was stunned. Right at that moment, a robotic voice rang in his head. Ding, host detected touching ancestral dragon scale. Fishing system activated. Holy shit. What's wrong with you? He Chang opened his mouth. It took him ages to force out a line. I'm fine. I was standing on the mountaintop. I saw this whole scene. I couldn't help laughing out loud. Suwan leaned over to me. What's up? Nothing, just saw an old acquaintance. Then I turned to look at the distant sky. The golden sunset spilled over the clouds. Taoist He Chang, good luck to you.